Welcome to the Professor of Perseverance. I'm Dr. James Purdue. Hey, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope that whatever's hampering you, boy, you're going to love today's guest. He's going to fire you up. We're going to get his story. And there's no reason after hearing a story like this that you can't go do what you need to do. Get out there and be productive in life. Again, we're all going through something. Some more than others, some less than others, but we're going through something. And so let's do something that's going to get us past that, get us over that adversity, over that challenge, to help us get through whatever, even if it's just for an hour to get through something, get through today to get through something. Maybe you can get through something here, use something today with this guest that'll get you through a month's worth of, get you paid through Thanksgiving. We know how difficult those can be sometimes. So we'll go over here and get started. And coming up with our guest, Patrick O'Dooley, coming up next. Patrick O'Dooley, a native of Dallas, Texas. He attended University of Oklahoma on an athletic scholarship. He's already a man after my ways, being a sports person. Graduated with a degree in marketing. After serving in the United States Army overseas as an aviator officer, and Patrick, thank you for your service. I really appreciate it. O'Dooley returned to Dallas, where he enjoyed a successful career in sales and sales management with IBM and Steelcase Furniture Corporation. Thank you. Easy to spit it out. He was a commercial pilot. Our speaker has spoken. Our guest has spoken in all 50 states, 7 foreign nations over the past 20 years, and he has served on the board of directors of the National Speakers Associations, where he earned the highest certification speaking professional, highest designation of a certified speaking professional. And this is helped by roughly 475 speakers in the world, which would you say would be considered less than 1% of speakers earn this title. So that is great accomplishment. Welcome to our show with the Professor of Perseverance, Patrick O'Dooley.
Hey, good morning, James. It's good to see you too, pal.
Hey, thank you. I met you in North Carolina a few years ago, and we reminisced and talked. Patrick and I did, and he was surprised that I remembered him. And then I said, "Well, it's hard to forget." And I don't want to say the term right now because it'd throw your story out, but I'll come back to it and tell him. Hey! Look who we got on here. Hey, look who we got on here.
Phil R. Taylor. I've heard of him. Isn't he that famous guy in Alabama?
Alabama. So, I feel so bad for Tua dislocating that hip this past weekend. Oh, I feel so bad for him. So, all right. Hey, Phil, appreciate you showing up, buddy. So, all right, Patrick, let's dive into, because I know you got things you need to be doing. So, hey, before we get into your story, Patrick, tell us, what was the young Patrick O'Dooley like?
Well, I've always had to work hard in everything I do, James. Athletically, I was not big or fast or strong. Scholastically, I was in the half the class that made the top half possible. And I started working at 12 years old when I integrated the Dallas Country Club as the first white caddy they ever had, and then the first white person to work in the kitchen. And I don't mind work, but I've always had to. I was fortunate enough to, as in high school, get a chance to play enough that Oklahoma University offered me a football scholarship, and I had a chance to come up and play at OU, and had a wonderful opportunity. I only played 2 years, 2 surgeries, and 3 coaches. So it was an interesting time there. And after getting out of there, I knew I was going to be in the service. I was in the military and flew all over the world for the military, and came back to Dallas, not for Dallas, but because of my son needed some specialized hand surgery. It was done in Dallas, one of the 3 places in the country. So I went to work right away at IBM. And the interesting thing about it early on, Jim, is that when I was 8 years old, I took my first commercial airplane ride at Braniff DC-3. A lot of the young listeners wouldn't even know what Braniff is. Then it was the fourth largest airline in the world. It was a Braniff DC-3 from Dallas to Fort Worth, which was 18 miles away. And so it was, got hooked on that and said, man, I'm loving this career. So at that point, I decided that's what I wanted to do. And from then on, my whole life, I pretty much was around aviation. And when I worked at IBM, I used to sell during the day and I'd fly checks at night, getting back 2 or 3 in the morning and getting up and going to my real job, but going towards that goal I always wanted to do, and that was to be an airline pilot. And I might throw out as much as I did actually make that goal. Braniff hired me, and not a week and a half later, I had a nail hit me in the eye when I was building a fort for my little boy for Christmas. Well, there's just not much of a demand, James, for one-eyed pilots. So my whole career kind of fell to the floor, and I had to look for something else to do. And I just remember I was reading one Sunday in the paper about a guy that flies around the country in his own plane giving speeches that make people feel good. Well, I can still fly, just I'm a one-eyed pilot. Nobody wants to ride with me, or I can't fly professionally. So I called this guy up, said, how do you do this? He said, well, you just got to get up a speech and start doing it. And he was kind of helpful to me and helped me get started. And the rest is kind of history. I went from an avocation to a vocation. That's it, James.
Well, that's a great it for me. So let me go back to my little story now. When I went back and I called you and then you said I had a good memory, remembering you, and so it's kind of hard to forget about a guy with a nail in his eye. And so that's why I didn't want to mention that earlier, so you can get that into your story. And so it's kind of hard to forget about the guy with a nail in his eye. So with the nail in the eye, so did you go blind in that one eye? Well,
basically I did. With the advent of laser surgery, I've gone from being totally blind to legally blind now in that eye.
There you go.
So, but what it did, it eliminated the wandering eye effect, which means if I was looking at you, I'd have one eye looking somewhere else. I can focus on you. I can't read or see you, but it eliminated that.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing as well too. So you still have your eye, so it's not a prosthetic.
Yeah,
prosthetic. All right, so good. That's amazing. Back in the 70s, the technology was that advanced to save your eye. That's good.
You're telling me. I'm so happy it came about since then.
Exactly. So, all right, awesome. Now let me go back to the next question here. Have you always been the type of person to rise above what life's thrown at you, or did you develop that when that nail went in your eye?
No, I've always been pretty much a guy to keep my head down and keep going. As the old saying in playing football, if there's no bone sticking out or no blood, you're all right. So that's kind of how I lived my life. I had to push through and keep going. And when this happened to me with my eye, I just said, there's got to be something else God has lined up for me. And who would I ever thought about speaking? Only speaking I've ever done. I took one class in school. It wasn't hard for me. I didn't mind the audience, but never thought about it. But back then, James, there weren't many professional speakers out there. The first National Speakers Association meeting I went to, there were 224 people. And of that was Norman Vincent Peale and Art Linkletter and Zig Ziglar and Ed Foreman and all the greats. It wasn't a big industry. And last year, I think there's over 8,000 at the speakers conference. So it's grown considerably.
Yes, it has. And I'm one of them to throw my little hat in the ring as well. So,
yeah. Well, welcome.
Well, thank you. I haven't been as successful as you, but a success is measured in the way that you define it. And so exactly. I feel successful from that. That's one thing I try to tell other people. Don't compare yourself with other people, because you're neither going to be so pompous because you've done better than others, or so depressed that you haven't done as much as others. So you just compare yourself with what you've done and then go from there.
Exactly. God gives us all certain talents and opportunities, and that's what we need to focus on and not compare. But back then, I remember there were so few speakers. If I didn't get a speech one year, I'd get it the next year, or I'd recommend one of my buddies to get it this next year after I finished. So it was a wonderful time. And I tell people, James, I've lived a vacation for 32 years.
Oh, that's
all 50 states, the nicest places to meet nice people. And my job is to help them feel better about themselves and what they do.
That's right. That's right. Not to throw a wrench in the whole thing here quickly, but I remember one woman come up to me and she says, I wasn't planning on coming to this. I had no idea why I come. And then she says, after she heard me speaking and gave my testimony or whatnot, she knew that she needed to be there and she was glad she came. But she sent an email to the event planner a couple of days later, and come to find out she had been diagnosed and was told she had like 6 months to live. And the information that I gave on how I went through things, she said felt will help her prepare for this. And boy, I was so glad, because I almost didn't go to that. And so I was so glad that it happened the way it did. So
well, me too, James. You have a great story. It's helping a lot of people, and you need to keep going and speaking and doing it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Hey, now give me a story, one of your funniest things that may have happened while you're on the speaking tour.
Well, I remember I was speaking out in Hawaii one time, and I was the after dinner speech. And before dinner, they had a, Mai Tais around the pool, and the guys blowing the horns, and the candle. I mean, the big light procession coming into the dinner. We had they served wine and stuff at the dinner, and when the dinner's about over, I was supposed to speak. Well, when I was almost ready to get up, the band started, and it was a great band. Everybody jumped up and started dancing and having a great time. Well, the president of the company went up and grabbed the microphone and said, "Stop, stop, stop. Quit having so much fun. It's time for our speaker." So that was one of those times I said, I just assume not have to speak a lot, and I shortened it considerably. I'll tell you that right now.
There you go, sir. Back to the non-fun.
Yeah, they were ready to get back and dance and play. They didn't want to hear me.
No, I wouldn't say they wanted to hear you, but yeah, I would have done the same thing. I would have cut it way down to get back to it as well. So everybody's having that much fun. So, all right, Pat. Patrick, going through, a nail in your eye, and everything else going on. What kind of support system did you have to help you get through all this?
Well, James, I'm so fortunate. I way over married. I married a wonderful girl when I was at Oklahoma University, met her there. She's a beauty queen. And not only that, she was a wonderful Christian girl. And when I had that happen, I'll never forget it. When I woke up from the surgery, first thing I asked her, said, "Am I going to be able to fly?" And she just started crying. But she was the main supporter of me and kept me going and say, "You'll find something else." And to this day, in fact, we just celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary a few months ago. And I asked her to remarry me. I said, "I need another 50." It was so good.
Congratulations.
And anybody that meets her, around here, she's a PhD in education, very gifted lady, and nationally known in her field, working with dyslexic children and teachers. And so around here, I'm Mr. Dr. Doodley.
There you go. There you go. Hey, it's a good title. That's a good title. So you as well as I do, there's a lot of men that marry over their heads.
Sure.
They do very well. Not that I've been married yet, but I'm 55. We'll see if anything still works out for me, but we'll go from there. I'm sure I would be way over my head if it ever comes to it.
Well, most good guys get more wife than they deserve, I found out.
Well, there you go. So the good keeps coming.
Yes.
All right. During, of course, it doesn't necessarily be with you nailing you. Of course, you talked about 2 surgeries back on the football squad at Oklahoma and everything. Has there been where you've hit like rock bottom emotionally?
Oh, James, I have hit bottom like most people. The difference is because I practice what I preach. I hit rock bottom, but I didn't stay there. I bounced and kept coming back. In fact, it's kind of like Barry Switzer was my coach at OU as a position coach, not a head coach. And it's what makes me think of that. Every time I see him, he says, "Oh, Dooley always liked you. You'd hit people, mostly the wrong people."
No, there you go. There you
So
go.
I've been down. I've been, the lowest man on the totem pole. I've done everything I need to do, but I just refuse to stay there. I know that I have a choice, and I think that's about the most powerful word in our language. We all have a choice. Every listener on here has a choice. You and I both do, and we make a choice to stay where we are when we get knocked down, and we will. Just like you said, you're in the middle of a challenge, you're coming out of a challenge, or you're getting ready to go into one. So you got a choice. Where are you going to be and what are you going to do? And I choose to get up and keep going.
There you go. I think it goes back to, I think a lot of athletes have that. I call it where I think I'm invincible. And then we still draw from that, whatever happens in life.
Yeah.
To give us that extra strength or courage or whatnot from that. One thing I want to mention, you said, about just going through tragedy or challenges in and out throughout life. And it's great when you're going through that tunnel and you see that light coming and you know it's not a freight train coming your way. It's you're finally at the end of it. And it feels very good, and go from there. And I'm a firm believer it's okay to have an emotional letdown, depression, because it makes you get more determined to get out of it and do what you need to, or to think about where you were and how far you have come through it already to give you that much more courage. And so I tell people it's okay to go through Pityville, but it's unacceptable to live there.
You're right.
So
I agree, and I guess the thing that I also have to mention, I have developed a very strong spiritual side of me that I think God helped me through these challenges that I have, because I certainly couldn't have done it by myself. But He did help me, and I'm so thankful that I can draw upon that strength.
Amen. Amen. I was late in life becoming a Christian.
Yeah.
Late in life. I was 38, I think, 40, something like that. Maybe later than that. I have to go back and redo the math. But I was late in life. But I remember I was one of them that grew up knowing there was a God, but I had a hard time believing in him because my father died when I was 16. My mom had to try to raise us. My older brother was in a car wreck, had 50% of his body burnt, and me being paralyzed. And so it was one of them where it's like I knew there was a God, but hard to believe in one.
Yeah.
And so, but that finally, shoot, who's the big preacher travel passed away a few years ago? The preacher, he's well known all over the place. Can't think of his name. He was in Nashville, and that's where I got saved at the Titans Coliseum on the football field. Can't think of his name right now. His son is running everything now.
Oh, Schuler?
No, a preacher.
I don't know. I can't remember. All I know is that I was saved at one of my seminars. I did a 3-day seminar, and one of the people in there led me to the Lord at that seminar, and I'm just so forever thankful.
Amen, brother. So, all right, Patrick, I'm sorry, but what advice would you have for people who have a great story and they would love to get out and inspire other people?
Well, James, everybody has a story. And if you feel like you have one that's particularly motivating or inspiring, I would encourage you to tell it, to say it, and to write it. These service clubs around any city are always looking for speakers to come and help them out and fire them up. And if you have a story, just bear in mind that you got to have a story and maybe some advice to go along with it. So here's what happened to me, here's what I did, and here's what you can do, something like that. And there's also magazines looking for stories you can write up, because everybody has a story in them. And when you have a great story, the world is full of people out there that need to get these out. And it just so happened when it happened to me, I mean, I just hit bottom and I just said, I'm not going to stay here, and developed a plan to come back. And that's what helped me, because I had the challenge, but I developed a plan. Here's what you can do, just like I did. Here's what I did to help me get out of this. And a lot of people are looking for that, James. And I would encourage anybody that has that story to not stop, just not let a stumbling block. I don't speak, I don't write. Go ahead and do it. If it's a strong enough story, you feel good enough about it, you do it.
That's right. So, and today's stuff, you don't have to go out to get a publisher to do everything. If you feel like doing a book, there's always that self-publishing. And if no one reads it but your family to give them some inspiration, it's well worth it. So
well, I wrote a book. It wasn't easy for me because I'm dyslexic, and it took me a long time. But, I'm thankful I did, because as I go around speaking, people want to take a little of me with them. And this is one way they can do it. And even some people might read it. But, being a dyslexic, it was not an easy thing for me.
I can imagine. And on the screen here, I got the Flight Plan for Living, The Art of Self-Encouragement by Patrick O'Dooley. So if anyone's looking here on the replay, go look it up on Amazon. This is where I found the cover here. And so Flight Plan for Living, The Art of Self-Encouragement, Patrick O'Dooley. And my copy is in the mail, so I can get hold of it and start reading it as well. So, and again, and a lot of people, they don't realize, you said it just a minute ago, that it doesn't have to be an overwhelming story. It could be just a simple story, but you're not the only person that's gone through this. And
others can relate.
Yes. And when I was graduating from our junior college here and down the road from me, the president come up to me and he said, whether you know it or not, or whether you believe it or not, whether you want it or not, people are watching you to see how you do, so they can learn and do something as well. So they're going to take some advice, something from you, and learn from it to use for their life. So people are watching, and they want to see how you handle a situation, so they can do it as well. So, all right, Mr. Patrick.
Yes, sir.
I believe we've done all we can today. I appreciate
what? I have thoroughly enjoyed this, and I hope your listeners have too. I'm delighted to be with you, because after learning about what happened to you and your story, I'm just thankful that we can go out and help others. We're all challenged to do that anyway in the Bible, to go out and do this. So I'm delighted to be here on your program. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to our paths.
All right, Patrick, he's froze up over there. That's okay. He may pop back on, but let me tell you here that Phil R. Taylor came on just a minute ago. Hey, Phil, there's your name again. There's your picture, Phil. And letting you know that Phil, God put it in him to create he called the 17 Principles of Success. And Mr. Patrick O'Dooley was on as well. And I was on this talking about perseverance. And Patrick, what principle were you used on with Phil's 17 Principles of Success?
I'm trying to think which one. I was the first one. I'm trying to think even with what we talked about. But it was good. I guarantee you that.
So you're on disc 1, and I don't have the disc with it in front of me, but on 17 biblical principles. So there's 17 principles, and that shows you how great Patrick O'Dooley is. He was on disc 1 right off the box to get everybody started. I was on disc 15, way in the back there.
Yeah, did they save the best for last?
There you go. So Phil let you know here thank you for having both of us with your 17 principles that God had put into you. And
you know, Phil does a wonderful job too. Trust in God. That's what it was. Trust.
yeah, Phil Soda's here.
Phil has touched so many lives with his internet programs and his biblical principles and the programs he's put on. I tell you, I'm just delighted that that's how we met. That Phil was the link to us.
Exactly.
James,
exactly.
And, it was a good one, wasn't it?
It was great. Great. I think overall, the 17 principles, everyone that contributed, I think, was awesome. It would be something someone needs to get to make a great Christmas gifts and inspire someone that they may think needs it from there. And yeah, Phil's been a link for both of us to meet. And Phil's put up a little note for us here. So thank you, Phil, for coming in. Anyone else that comes in, appreciate you showing. Be sure to subscribe to the channel here, and also like and share and put out. Go visit Patrick O'Dooley's website if you need a speaker. Let him get hold to him, take care of and everything like that. And Patrick, I appreciate you coming on here. Phil, brother, we're going to be talking to you later and get you on here as well one day. And then Patrick can watch us from his house.
I tell you, it'll be good. James, you stay blessed. Thank you keep up the good work, will you? Thanks for the opportunity to be on your show.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming. Hey, yes, everybody, you do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your paralysis. End and end.